Good morning, Suzuki Science. It is a pleasure to see you again. This is day 3, and it looks like we are starting to get the hang of what we're supposed to be doing here. Monday, many of you were waiting impatiently for the past 2 weeks, 3 weeks even, to get back online, and maybe you're not in the school, but at least we're starting to build a sense of community. I did notice since my last announcement, a few more of you did add to our Padlet, which was excellent. And now we're on to day 3. So yesterday we had a question that was posed. One of the things that's very interesting about this phenomenon of going online is that even though we do have many of you on, sadly we have a few students who have not made it on. And I had this article I found today, and this article talks about as schools move online, many students stay logged out, which is kind of scary, frightening. It's talking about certain economics and certain demographics and reasons why some students are not able to log in. And this is an American article, not a Canadian article, but I am seeing, and I've talked to some of my peers, that there are some classes where students have not logged on. So we're really concerned. So if you have any friends who have decided to maybe Insta, Snap, whatever social media you're using, talking to you and saying, you know what, I'm not in class, I'm not doing whatever, well, get them in touch with us and let us find out what we can do to help them get them back online, because there are going to be credits granted for students this year, and those credits are going to allow you to move on into grade 11, grade 12, or into university. So please do make sure that you are and your friends are online. So one of the things that we looked at yesterday was this question: finding COVID-19 by tracking your every single move. And it was very interesting listening to your discussions. So I did capture the discussions on here from the 3 classes. Not everybody participated. I did say that this was my form of attendance. So if you're not even saying I agree or disagree, I assume that you were not online and you were absent today. Do recall that even though you will not be penalized for trying to understand the technology and learn the environment and all this internet stuff, if you do not attend class and you do not do the work, then you will not get the credit. That's a very clear message for both the ministry, the board, and for myself. Okay, so make sure that you are, clearly if you're listening to this, you are attending class. So we had some excellent responses to the questions. I did pose the same question to all 3 of you, except with the grade 10s, I kept the question very simple as to whether you agreed or disagreed. The seniors, I gave you a little more framework, as you saw in that little paragraph, to address the question. And many of you were quite thoughtful and even eloquent with your ideas. There was definitely a split between yes, it should be tracked, you should be tracked, and no, we're impinging on privacy. Some of you agreed that it was to protect you and that the population would be better off and less likely to get sick. And if that was all true, then by all means, track away. Others of you noted that civil liberties and freedoms might be impinged, and that this digital surveillance could be that slippery slope that leads to a more Orwellian measure. George Orwell is the author of 1984. It is a book that I know that some people are forced to read in English class, both in high school and university. It is a classic, and it is one of the first times they talk about this big brother state of the government always watching you. For those of you unfamiliar with the book, let me just open up from the browser here. Amazon. 1984. And there it is. There's the book. 1984. Okay. So the idea that your data could be used as long as you kept it anonymous, that was embraced by most of you. Many of you said that same kind of comment. But the question then becomes, can data taken from you ever be truly anonymous? One person had an interesting comment and suggested that knowledge that these measures were in place could act as a deterrent, as he would not even consider going out knowing that he could be caught. So I believe this was an excellent discussion. I hope that this got you thinking in a different way. And how about that Tiger King? Everyone seems to be talking about Tiger King. I look at IMDb and I look at Apple TV, and all these things have And Netflix, it's like the #1 show that's being watched. And when I looked at the reviews to see if people, a lot of times people watch things, but they don't actually like it. But when you look at Tiger King here, Murder, Mayhem, and Madness, 7.9. So that's a pretty good rating. So I guess it's a good show. People are enjoying what they're seeing. I personally have not watched it. However, I have read this book. There's a book called Poached, Inside the Dark World of Wildlife Tracking. And even though this person doesn't, it's not the traditional poacher, he does take tigers from the wild and other big cats from the wild, as well as breed them. And some of the conditions that his animals are under is very similar to the conditions that other animals that have been poached, elephants, pangolins, civets, whatever they might be, from their home locations. So I read this book. It did touch upon this, and I found it quite interesting. So if you're interested in this Tiger King, maybe consider signing out Poached from your local library. So going back to that document, is this true or false? We see a lot of misinformation online. And if you saw this, did you immediately assume it was true? So, truth. No, there has been no confirmation that Joe Maldonado Passage, Joe Exotic, the star of the Netflix reality series Tiger King, has tested positive for COVID-19. Yes. In an April 1st interview.
I am so excited that Dylan Passage is on the line from, I think,
I'm not going to play that for you, but in this interview, it was indicated that Joe Exotic was transferred into a cell on COVID-19 isolation. And this was because at the facility where he'd been housed, there had been COVID-19 incidents. But none of the inmates at that facility have tested positive for the virus. It's just suspected. Okay? And on April 2nd, the day after all this was posted, there was confirmation on his Facebook page that he does not have COVID-19. So you'll see a lot of things on the internet that indicate and seem to be very true. And I strongly encourage you, when you see these things, don't just believe them. Be critical. There's a lot of conspiracy theories going out online about the coronavirus and COVID this and climate change and who knows what else is going on. Always be critical of the information that you're receiving. A resource that I found excellent was this thing here called Racing Extinction. So for those of you who are interested in, I guess, the Tiger King and the idea that we are affecting nature by taking things in an unsustainable manner, then this resource here, this is not great because the reflection isn't good, but you can see it on the screen as well. Racing to Extinction 8.3 is an excellent documentary that looks at how we're taking organisms unsustainably from the environment. So this was a Christmas present. I still haven't watched it, but I'm looking forward to watching it. Now, yesterday I had mentioned that Wednesdays today would always be Wild Wednesday, and I'd live stream from my zoo room or out in the field, and I would show you something cool and interesting. However, today I am actually in interviews with my grade 12s from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. So unfortunately, that means I will have to postpone Wild Wednesday to either Thursday, kind of weird, or I'll have the first version of Wild Wednesday on next Wednesday after the long weekend, Easter weekend. Okay, I'll let you know Thursday morning what I decide. If I do have the Wild Wednesday on Thursday, it'll still be around the same time at 12:15. To give you something to watch, I will upload a video of me cleaning a turtle tank. I don't think that's really exciting video, but it gives you some insight as to what it means and to take care of a couple of red-eared sliders. Okay, so there's no new work assigned today. you are to continue working on what you were assigned on Monday. So in the grade 10, that was the COVID consequence map. The grade 11, you're working on your evidence for evolution. The grade 12s, I'm going to see you today or tomorrow. See you. I'll be talking to you. And I hope you have a great Wednesday.